actually looking forward to just sitting in a plane for 30 hours.
All right, everyone. I have Phil on here with me, Phil Davis, out of New
Hey,
York
Lisa.
City.
Correct.
And Phil, actually, hello, Phil. And so I actually did a post about Phil on my Instagram. I'm like, hey, meet Phil. Phil
Mm-hmm.
bought two duplexes for like $50,000 and $55,000 for one, $50,000 for the other. And it just got a lot of, I was surprised at how many people clicked on it.
Yeah, me too.
Things like that do happen all the time, but it really got a lot of interest generated. So I'm like, hey, Phil, let's come on and let's talk about what this was. Some people were disbelieving.
Yeah.
Other people
Couple
were just
haters.
like, congratulations, like, you prove it to me. Like, I don't have to prove
Yeah,
anything to
exactly.
anybody. It's my money. But,
Yeah.
but so I just wanted you to walk around because we actually worked together, but I wanted Phil to go through the process of how it was for him buying his first investment, not living near his investment. So it was long distance. It was in another market. It was in a low cost neighborhood. And it was actually a very, I would have to say, I've had very smooth experiences with helping my clients, but Phil was the smoothest. I felt there was some magic in the air.
Yeah, it
So
went very
that's all
well.
I'm gonna say. But Phil, it was so smooth. I was like, you manifested this. All
Yeah.
right, let's get going. So, okay, Phil, I just want you to start. So let's start with like why you wanted to do rental property portfolio and why last April
Yeah.
was the time for you to do it.
Well, what made me want to start is I had actually a friend of mine who he's a real estate investor, and he's been doing it somewhere along the lines of 15 years. And he's really good at it also. And I would always see him do it, and he'd talk to me about it. He'd teach me about it. But he actually does it in New York City,
Right.
and I just can't afford that. So I was thinking about maybe I could look into lower cost neighborhoods. So I started looking around. I started thinking about, where could this be? And I looked all around, and I just said to myself, I said, you know what? I really want to do this. I think this is a great opportunity, but I just don't know how. I said, I want to do it, but I'm just nervous about pulling the trigger on it because I didn't have a mentor in terms of investing out of state. Because my mentor, he managed all his stuff, he
Right.
bought all his own stuff, and that's not really what I was looking to do. And then I set a goal for
Right.
myself. I said, you know what? I'm going to really learn about money and real estate and investing. And I think it was 2018, I said to myself, I'm going to read a book a week, all on investing, management, real estate. And I came across your book. And I read it and I was like, wow, this is exactly
So
what did I what? Sorry, your
did
connection's
you read
cutting in and
52
out.
books?
What? Yeah, I did. Yep. If you look on my Instagram, I have a picture of all the 52 books. But
Oh,
it's a little much, but definitely yours was definitely one of the top books that I read. And I would say yours, in terms of what I wanted to personally do, your book was the top book. Because I read a lot of books and they say, oh, do this and do that, and you can have this and you can have that, and here's passive income. And it's like, okay, but what do I need to do? How do I get started? And I read your book and I was like,
right.
oh, okay. And then I saw you had a little mentoring section. And it took me a little while. I was like, do I really want to do this? Do I really want to get a mentor?
How long did you think about it?
Uh, how long? I thought about it. I don't know, not that long. I thought about it honestly, probably a couple months because I was looking for stuff on my own. And I was like,
Okay,
maybe I could just do it on my own,
fair.
you know? And then I think you sent me an email for like a free consultation. I was like, you know what do I have to lose? Worst case, I
Mm-hmm.
talk to her for an hour and it doesn't work out. And I talked to you, and I have to say the thing I like the best, and that actually convinced me to go with you as a mentor, was basically how open you were. A lot of people, when they want to mentor you, they don't really want to tell you a lot about themselves. And to me, it's like, well, there's so many mentors out there. how do I know that you're the real deal? You know, I'm like, maybe you just wrote a really good book, and maybe you just talk really well and you can sell me on
Right.
this idea, but you don't really have the experience that I'm looking for, you know? And you were super
Or
open.
depth, right?
Or depth.
Like there's
Yep,
nothing, right.
exactly. Yeah, that's true too. Sometimes maybe they're just surface level, very basic. And I asked you about your experience and all that stuff, and you were just like, oh, this is what I've done. This is what I do. This is what I have done. I was just like, oh wow, that's pretty cool. And I decided to do the mentorship, and it was really, really, really beneficial.
Right. So what was you read 52 books and you never really got the how. You're like
Yes.
all these books and they're like, oh, just buy $200,000 house. That's
Yep.
it.
Exactly.
Like, but why would I buy a $200,000 house? Like, what kind of money are you trying to make? Like
Yep.
that makes sense, right? Is it just like the disconnect between I don't have millions of dollars where
Yes.
buying a $200,000 house, I better make $200,000. Okay, like what are you talking about?
Yeah. And also, I mean,
Yeah.
that disconnect definitely. And also, they talk about the end result, but they don't talk about the process. Like a lot of books, and even before I read those 52
Right.
books, I've read a ton of other books about everything under the sun. And a lot of people, when it comes to real estate and it comes to investing, they talk about, like I said, the end result, what you could achieve, what life could be like, this dream of like quitting your job and building a massive like real estate or stock portfolio. But nobody says, hey, this is where you got to start. So reading it as somebody who's starting or was starting, I was always like, all right, yeah, that sounds great, but all right, what do I do? And I have to say, honestly, even there's probably only one other book that I read that actually talks about the process other than yours. And I've read a
Which one?
lot of books at this point.
Say it for everyone.
The other book that I read that kind of talks about the process is not real estate related. It's actually like a dividend portfolio related. It's called Quit Like a Millionaire. And that book actually, I thought it was interesting. It's not quite, what I want to do in terms of building a stock portfolio. I like real estate a lot better. But I have to say that book actually did talk about the process and wasn't just like, hey, here's what I did. Here's what you can do. Where it's like, no, this is what I did and this is how I got there. And I really like that. Same as your book.
And I'm gonna get to the actual process of us finding the rental properties for you. But the question I have for you, you read 52 books. That's a lot of intel you got. And some were very good at telling about the end result, but not the how. But what did you get out of reading 52 books? Would you recommend someone read 52 books? Was it enlightening? And if it was enlightening, in what way? Like, what did you get out of reading 52 books in a year? That's a lot.
Would I recommend it? I would say yeah. I don't know if you have to do 52. It's a big commitment. It's a book a week, basically, was my goal. Some weeks I missed, some weeks I did 0, other weeks I did like 2 or 3 though. But
Right.
overall, I would say I would recommend to read and learn as much as you can about whatever you're trying to do, because I think that's the first phase in mastering anything. If you don't understand what you're
Yeah.
trying to do, how can you really reach that next step? You might have this, like we talked about with the books, you might have this ultimate goal. Hey, I want to build a real estate portfolio that makes me, 100 grand a year. But okay, but do you know how to buy your first house? Do you know how to get a mortgage? No? Okay, well, you got to learn, right? So I would definitely advise people reading for 2 reasons. One, to learn and learn about what they're trying to master. And 2, I think it opens your eyes a lot. I think reading that many books, and I think only like 2 books were from the same author. Reading that many books, it gives you so many different perspectives. So you get that perspective of, like we said, the guy who just has millions of dollars and wants to buy $250,000 properties, $1 million properties. And then you get the perspective of people who, grew up a little bit more humbly and, maybe currently don't have those millions of dollars to buy that. And I would say the majority of the population is in the situation where they don't have millions of dollars, like
Yeah.
myself. I mean, I would love to be in that
80% of
situation.
us are very humble, which is why it's a disconnect, because the
Exactly.
majority of people right now looking to build wealth don't have money like that, but all the people who are teaching how to build wealth have money like that.
Yes.
And a lot of them came from money, right?
Yes.
Like, being able to ask your parents for a loan, there are some communities where that's just not happening.
Yeah. Exactly.
Like if that's how you got your start, like I understand you're the guru, but like it doesn't really connect to 80% of the people out there.
Yeah.
And I've been doing this, Phil, for 8 years. Like I go to some online forums, they still don't understand that the majority of people, the 80% out there, have maybe 10,000 who are looking to invest, have like $10,000.
Yeah.
Not
exactly.
100, not
Yep.
20. They have 10. That's the majority. And that
Exactly.
is doable, right? Like you
Yeah.
have to massage it a little bit, find the right market, but it's definitely doable. But there is like that disconnect. So
Yeah. And not only do they only have $10,000, it took them 2 years to save it up.
Seriously, right? And that's
right?
okay. Like to me, it's about owning it. If it takes
Yes.
this person 3 months to save 10,000 because they make $12,000 a month, that's fine. If it takes you 2 years to make 10,000, as long as you are in and out of this place in 5 to 10 years, it's still a go, right?
Yeah.
So I tell people, just don't take other people's money for yours. It's not about them. You're in a place where you are for your reason, but just don't be ashamed that you may have came from humble beginnings. Like I'm the first to be like, I'm working class, and I do it on purpose, because if I don't do certain things a certain way, I'm like, well, what'd you expect? Like I'm not trying to be a certain thing. Like I do it on purpose just so you don't come at me weird. So we're very clear about who Lisa is, so you don't get any fake sense of security. Like I throw it out there, but I also throw it out there for you to feel comfortable with who you are. That's okay.
Yeah.
I was happier than half these kids who had a lot more money than me, to be quite honest. There's people who are born with a lot more money. I would love to compete childhood for childhood who had a better one, to be quite honest, because it was full of love, happiness, and community. And a lot of people haven't seen that. You know what I mean? So
definitely.
and before we leave that subject, give me your top 3 real estate investing books for the average person like me and you. Please put mine. I'm sure mine is going to be up front because you actually worked with me. But like, what are a few others though that actually resonated? Because it's always good, like you said, for people to get perspective, but I want them to get good perspective.
Yeah, I would say specific real estate. I would say the top 3.
Yeah.
I got the top 2 right. Oh, I got the top 3. So definitely in the top 3, I'm going to say in no specific order. I'm going to say definitely your book, 100%.
Okay.
The next one is definitely the Millionaire Real Estate Investor by Gary Keller, the creator of Keller Williams.
I think I've read that one.
Yeah, that one's really good.
Oh.
And then the other one is BRRR by David Green. Buy, rehab, rent, refinance, repeat. If I say it right? Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
I would say
all right, guys, you heard it.
I would definitely say those are definitely some of the top books, because like I said, they talk more about the process rather than just the end result, and you actually leave feeling like, okay, you know what? Maybe I'm not 100% ready to go, but I definitely know a little bit more of what I need to do next,
And I will point out, he said read, because when I launched my book in 2018, all of a sudden people found me through Amazon, but not through, like, a lot of people before found me through Bigger Pockets, or which is an online forum which really isn't into mentoring or paying anyone for an online course. It's like, do it yourself.
Yeah.
I'd like to say there's a privilege in being able to do it yourself, because if you can do it yourself, that means that if things go wrong, you got more money coming out the back end. And some people don't, right? So it's very interesting when people say do it yourself. Make sure they're coming from your same pocketbook, because if they have bounce back, or they can ask a cousin or a friend or family for more money, or they make or earn more money than you, there's a lot of things they might have that make doing it yourself more palatable than someone who's like, no, I really just have 10. It took me 2 years for this. So I don't want to waste it. So just be careful of that. But then I get all these people, I get just as many people I work with now, mostly from people who, when they wanted to learn about it, they went to get a book. And I'm just
Hmm.
going to tell all of you guys out there, you can find me through the online world, but the people who go buy a book first when they want to learn something and not scour the internet, it's like a whole other level of almost commitment, maybe, when you do
Yeah.
that. There's something different in that whole audience. So if you're into the online space, I get books just because they sort of cut down through the chaff, or what do you call it? Like just sometimes there's a lot of noise
There's a
and
lot of
it's
noise
not
on
the
the
real,
internet, that's for sure.
you know what I mean? A lot of noise. And
Yeah.
it takes so much time to go through it. I know myself, I just go straight to a book because I know somebody who probably wears glasses and is a bit of a nerd really hunkered down on that one subject.
Yeah.
And they made it, and they try to make it professional and they try to do this and present it in a very logical way. And it's just, you just get through all the chatter and you get to research fact-based, or you just get more, I think, more substantial information than trying to read a whole bunch of blog posts.
Yeah. I
So I just
definitely
want to
agree.
say I noticed that with the people that I'm working with, like getting a book first, it's night and day difference. The kind of I think results they get. I think one is just like one path, one line, let's get it done. Whereas the people who read all the stuff on the internet, they don't necessarily go as far or advance as far because maybe there's so much and they get analysis paralysis
Yes.
versus a substantial book can do. Just something to think about, folks. And he gave you his top ones to read, right? It's not just about Lisa. Of course, I want you to buy my book, but there's more out there that's going to
Hmm.
make us all well-rounded, right? So so let's go on to your experience. So you started working with me, and I don't want to talk about like necessarily me working with you. I want to talk about for you, what was it like
Okay.
going through the process? You don't have to tell like how in detail, but just sort of what were your expectations and versus what you actually saw and how fast it went, or just whatever you want to get out there.
Um, I would have to say, in terms of expectations, I didn't have really any. I mean, I guess I expected for you to help me along the process, but I mean, other than your book, I really didn't know you at the time. So I was like, I didn't know if this was going to be amazing or it was going to be a bust, right? So I kind of just went in with, you know what, let's see what happens. And I was like, I know I need help with this. I
Trust.
know,
I get a lot of trust.
yeah, exactly. Let's just trust and see what happens, I was like, you know what, I need help with this. This person is
God.
definitely further along than I am. Let's see what they got for me. And another thing too, one thing I looked at a lot of properties even before we met, and I looked at a lot of different areas, and I looked at a lot of different, types of buildings, and I kind of was like, okay, let me go in and let me see what she has to show me. Let me see if she could help me narrow it down.
Right.
And even though I would find something that this was definitely the best part of it was even though I would find something that I would think was a good deal, maybe I would do the analysis on it and I would feel like, okay, yeah, I think this would make me what I wanted to make me. The price seems right. But there's just something in the back of my head that was like, you don't know what you're doing. I don't know if you're right. I'd be like, man, you know what? I don't know if I'm right. And I would kind of not do it. So then when I started working with you, you took me through your whole process. You took me through like population growth and, how to find out crime and, all the steps. I don't want to give it all away, but and that helped me.
So
And then
there's
when I
like
showed,
layers. There are
yes,
layers, everybody. I'm telling you, we don't just look at crime reports and buy a house. It's
dog, of course,
deeper than that. Like the
yeah,
market conversation goes pretty deep.
yeah,
No, some people think it is, and I'm just because I make it seem easy. I was like, we do
hmm,
a lot of conversation and skill building to be
yeah,
able to just
definitely,
look at a deal and be able to do that quick analysis. There's a lot that goes in, a lot of depth that we
yep,
have gone into to be able to recognize those trends.
yeah, exactly. And I just thought that process was really good. And then the best part of it was like, what I liked best also was you didn't really just give it to me. You weren't just like, yep, go here, buy this house. You were like, all right, Phil, well, tell me what you've been looking at. So you kind of gave me the confidence of like, okay, you know
Yeah.
what? She's agreeing with
And
me.
then I would tweak.
Exactly. Yep.
That's
Yep. Because if I kind of started working with you and you were just like, yep, Phil, go to this area, buy this house, get this mortgage, do this, I would have been, grateful for that. And at the end, I would have had a house. But right now I'd probably be like, I don't know if I'm right. I don't know if I'm right for the next deal. But you kind of did it in a
Right.
way where it was like, Phil, what do you got for me? And then I'll help you with what you got. And that was great because I was like, hey, Lisa, I found this area. And you're like, not so much. I was like, okay, well, I found this area too. And you're like, all right, that's good. And I was like, hey, I found this other area. And you're like, oh yeah, this one looks good. Let's look further in this. And then we looked further. I was like, hey, I kind of like this house. And you're like, not so much. I'm like, hey, what about this house? You're like, I don't know. And then I was like, hey, what about this house? And we did the analysis and you're like, Bill, don't let this deal pass you by. And I was like, you know what?
Yes.
I like this deal. She likes this deal. And I think that was like a Wednesday we talked. And you were like, Phil, go see it.
Yeah.
I was like, oh, all right.
Tomorrow.
And yeah, like tomorrow. And I think I saw it like that Friday or Saturday. And I saw it and I was like, we talked about the price we want to get it at. And you said even at full ask, it was a great deal. And I won't talk about what I paid for it yet and how I've structured the deal. But I went in, I put in my offer, and literally the agent got back to me the next day and was like, this is what they're willing to do. I remember I was at the gym at the time and I called you and you're like, that's amazing. Do it. And I called the agent back and I was like, yeah, let's do it. And then the whole next process of the of the deal started. But yeah, that was kind of how it started.
Did you, okay, so now you still like the property, right?
Of
You're
course, yeah.
still like, this was great. Like even
Mhm.
now you're like, that was a good. Did you
Yeah.
have that same feeling when we were like, let's submit the bid? Because, I
No.
want people to know, like, it should match up. Like, you should have that feeling of, we did the work. This is it. Like, you can't even convince me now it's not the one. Do you know, like, was it that feeling of certainty? Like, we've done the work. This
I would
is it.
say,
And you will know when you got the right one. It won't be some experience. What would you say about that?
I'm a little more nervous, so I'm always a little, I always have that little bit of anxiety behind me. But it was more, you know what, it wasn't so much, I would say the doubt wasn't so much in the property as much it was in like myself at the time. Because I knew the property was good and I was like, yep, this is
Right.
it. This is a great property. And, I did the numbers, you did the numbers. We went through everything.
You did.
And logically, I was like, absolutely, this is great. But emotionally, I still had that hesitation of like, am I really cut out for this? Can I do this? And then I was just like, you know what? I was like, this is what I've wanted, And I was like, Lisa's telling me it's right. I'm saying it's right. And then I just jumped in and definitely happy I did that.
I want to go deeper on that because what you just described is the reason so many people might come
Yes.
to me and I've been thinking about this for 15 years.
Mm-hmm.
You were like, so logically it made sense. Mentor made sense. Your real estate agent happy to make this deal for you.
Of course.
Paid. There was still like, this looks good, but what if? Where does that come from? Did it come from all the scary stories you've seen? And I just find it interesting that you brought it up because that is the thing. And I just want to know if you can go, even with all that, tell me about the doubt still creeping up and how that's probably a normal thing and how you dealt with it, at the time.
Yeah, I would say it's just, you mentioned it just now. You said, what if, right?
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot of what ifs. And for me, it's like we talked about before. I just spent so much time and put in so much work to save up this money to do this that I was like,
okay.
Oh, what if I blow it all, Like what if this is a bust? I was like, then I just wasted like 2 years of work to save the money on top of all the work that I put in to do this. And I was just like, oh, what if it doesn't work out? What if I have to evict somebody? What if I have to do this? What if I have to remodel an apartment? And I'll tell you, I had to evict somebody. I had to remodel an apartment, and it was not that big of a deal. Like the deal I was making of it in my head was nothing compared to the actual thing. The eviction, obviously you helped me get a property manager. My property manager handled pretty much everything.
Oh, yeah, they'll take care of it all.
Yeah. And literally the whole process of eviction took about 6 weeks,
Yeah.
And
Mhm.
it was not that big of a deal. In my head, I was going to lose thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars because of it. You know, the tenant was going to destroy my house. And I don't know. I had all these crazy thoughts in my head. And in reality, I mean, that could have happened, but in reality, it didn't. You know, and I still haven't had anything like that.
So, point on that is that everyone out there, you need to understand that everybody's journey is different, and we got to understand just because that there are people who lost thousands of dollars, but
Oh,
that
sure.
doesn't mean that has to be your journey, right?
Mm-hmm.
We don't know that their temperament. We don't know how good they are at vetting, their skill level at vetting contractors. We don't
Mm-hmm.
know if they decided to do the work themselves or they hired it out. So it's just something, sometimes like the same situation and one person loses thousands and maybe you don't because your skill development or your knowledge or maybe your experience, just can go
Yeah.
different. And I think it's important to go, just because that's their journey doesn't mean it's mine.
Yep.
But I'd like to ask you, with all those doubts about, I spent 2 years raising this money. I don't want to waste it. I don't want this to be a horror story. But you went for it anyways. Tell me the thing that made you go, that, we're gonna do it. I know I'm nervous, but what made you go, we're doing this. I'm not gonna back out now.
Um, what made me say that I'm not going to back out, even though I was still nervous about it? That's
Yep.
just kind of how I am. When I think that there's
Okay.
something that has the potential to be good, I want to go for it. And even though I had those doubts, there was the other part of me that was saying, well, what if it works out? Right? So even though I had those doubts of, oh, what if, this happens or that happens, and what if a storm hits and destroys my house? Oh no. But then there was the other part of me was like, well, what if this works out and I get really good at this? What if this works out and everything that I've been reading about and thinking about actually comes true? I was like, this might be the first step in actually achieving everything that I want to achieve. I was like, what if that
Right.
part's true? And for me, at least, that the I wouldn't want to call it fear of missing out, but that fear of not achieving my goals was a lot stronger than the fear of not ever trying for my goals. And that's what
Okay.
made me
You just took me through it. I felt it. I
yeah.
think I went on the roller coaster with you just now. Oh man, you explained it really well.
Yeah,
Like, wow. So you were battling some stuff, and you're not the only one. There's
of course.
people who, and of course, it doesn't hurt that we went over everything together. So
And
you're new, but then
that
my
was, oh my
experience,
God, a tremendous
you're
help.
like, okay. And there's a trust level, right? Like at the end of the day, if you're going to work with me, you have to trust Lisa Phillips.
Yes.
It's not easy always to give trust to someone, okay?
Mm-hmm.
I understand that in this world. But, it's something to be said for the trust that you had that maybe helped getting over the thing. And it's like, you got to trust the person you're doing business with. So, and I just want to say, when I do business with people, I always try to make it win-win. You pay me for my services, but I deliver on making sure I'm helpful, I'm there, I'm in your
Mm-hmm.
face. We go through things, right? And so make sure whoever you're working with has that level of making sure they're taking care of your money as much
Yep.
as you take care of your money. And there is a level of trust. And I know sometimes I'm just battling with people who have trust issues, and I'm like, come on, just give it to me. I'm like, yeah,
Yeah.
I'm like, I've done this before. Let down the walls. Let the
Yeah.
walls down a little bit, okay? like it's okay to just let your walls down. And you wouldn't think it, but half of it's very logical in what I'm doing, and I'm very strategic. But the other half is like, to me, I'm trying to teach people it's okay to trust
Yeah.
and to let things flow
Mm-hmm.
and to let's see what the numbers give us versus us trying to control the numbers, right?
Mm-hmm.
So a lot of what I is about flow and trust as much in business, and about having the business you want, not just getting a property that's a deal. Do you know? And it's a
Yes.
different, do you understand the
Yes.
mindset behind that? There's like a give and take, there's a trust in the universe, God, yourself, me, just there's a trust in the business and putting out a certain energy and letting for it to come in. And I know that can sound a little it's not a hard science what I'm saying right now. It's a soft
Mm-hmm.
one. But I wanted to know your doubts. Did you sort of feel that sort of give and flow and ebb as we worked together, where it wasn't such this hard thing, but it was like, I like to think of it as an artistic creation and coming together of all these parts to make like
It's
a
an art
beautiful
and a
tapestry.
science.
I really do. I think it's like an intricate art. You know what I mean?
Yeah, no, definitely. Because I mean, one thing I do is I work with people who mentor high school students right now, and you know, when you work with people, 90% of it is that emotional kind of like back and forth of what's going on. Really, the
Trust.
logical part of it is easy. You know, that's like only a small fraction of it. The logical part is real easy. It's
Correct.
like, listen, this is what we're looking for. Did we find it? Did we not find it? That's simple. The hard part is everything we just talked about, those fears, those doubts, the wanting to do it, the self-doubt, the doubt in, you know, maybe not trusting you so much yet, maybe not so much trusting themselves yet.
Right.
And I
So
think that's the hardest part of the journey by far. Even still, I mean, I'm working on another property right now, and sometimes I'm like, man, am I right? I don't know. And then I think back and I'm like, no, you know what? I did this before and I'm right. And you know, and when you're consistent, and I say this all the time, competent, we said this a little bit before about education, competence builds confidence. So once you build that core competency of like, hey, this is what I need to do, the next time you go to do it, it's like, oh, okay, I've done it before. I'll do this same thing again. Um, if that makes sense.
yeah, and see what's new. So now we're gonna get into the meat and bones of the deal. The reason I wanted to talk about that is because at this stage of the game that I'm in, like it's more than just buying a deal. Like I wanted to talk about those bigger issues, like that
Mm-hmm.
90% you said with the mentor, just so people know that they should expect at that higher level, and not like I can find you cheap houses all the time.
Yeah.
But let's get one that actually makes sense for you and your budget and what you want to look
Yep.
for and what you're comfortable with. Now that's a whole
Yeah.
other level of building to me a wonderful business that you're happy with, not
Yep.
something you're stuck with. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So let's
Yeah.
talk
And
about the deal. Oh, sorry. Did you have something to say?
no, I was just gonna say, I think you brought up a really important point that not every house is the same, and just because a house is cheap doesn't mean it's a great deal. You have that sub 30K program, and I'll tell you, I've seen a lot of 30K houses that were amazing deals, and I've seen a lot of 30K houses that were terrible deals.
You gotta pass. Maybe if it was 10K or 5K, right? Like it's not
Yeah,
that it's out of
maybe.
the question, but it's just
Yeah.
not a 30K house, right?
Yeah, so just the price tag alone is not enough to say, oh, it's a $20,000 house. Oh, it's a $30,000 house. Man, let's jump on it. It's going to be a steal. Not necessarily, because if the comps in the area are $10,000 because it's in a rundown area, that 30K house is actually really expensive. But if you find a 30K house where the comps are $90,000, you just found yourself a great deal.
Right. And it does happen. And in the Facebook group, it's mostly people, just doing it on their own for the most part. And you see some deals, I'm just like, ooh, child.
I don't know about that one.
Read my book, child. Read my book.
Yeah.
I wouldn't have chose that one. But you live and learn, right? You pay one way or the other. So let's talk about the deal we found and tell about the process, because now that we've gotten through, you actually brought up really good points. So thank you for your you just naturally brought it up, but it's things that we need to start talking about so we get over the psychological and we understand that that's normal. And it's not going anywhere, because if it takes you 2 years to save something up, you're going to be a little nervous about it.
Yep.
You don't have a fallback plan, right?
Exactly.
You're just at zero. And who wants to be at zero in today's economy right now if you don't have your passive income? But let's talk about the deal. Tell everybody what you bought, how you found it, what you found, what you think when you first saw it, how do you like it now, all that good stuff.
So I found it through doing research with you. I actually found it on Zillow, which I know a lot of people say that's where the bad deals are, but not so much. I found it, great deal. And then pretty much it was 3 pieces of property. It was all side by side. It was a 2-family, 3 beds over 3 beds with a piece of land in the middle, and then another piece of property, which was 2 beds and a really big 2-bed. It was originally on the market for 135 135 altogether, and then I got to negotiate it down a little bit, which I could talk about if you want.
Yeah, let's the numbers. You said
Oh
you got
yeah,
it down to
sure.
105, right?
So sort of.
Isn't
I'll
that
kind of tell
awesome?
you how it worked out. So altogether, they were asking 135. So then right away, I got it down to 115 because it was. I said I'll buy them all. I said I'll buy all three. So right away they cut me a discount. And then just by chance, when I was seeing it with the agent, the owner was there also. Because at the time one of the apartments was vacant, and he was working on it. And he was talking to me. I was like, hey, why do you want to sell? He was getting divorced and he had to sell. He brought up that one of the houses needed a new roof. And he's the one who actually said, yeah, I could probably work that into the price. I said, okay, cool. So we talked a little bit, just like, getting to know each other a little bit. And then when I put in my offer, I said, he mentioned he could put the roof into the price. I said, well, what could we do with that? And what we ended up deciding on was I'll pay the 115, but I'm going to get $10,000 in escrow. For those of
Okay.
you who don't know an escrow account is when a third party just kind of holds the money. So the title agency held the money, the 10,000, and then when I found the contractor and the roofer, the title agency cut the check for the roof. So I replaced the entire roof for positive $900, which was
25 plus years of that's going to be 25 plus years that you shouldn't really have to worry about it. After
yeah, no, it's
20,
been fine.
25, you'll start getting leaks,
Yeah,
but you got a good generation's worth.
yeah, definitely brand new roof, brand new, not even just patchwork. Scraped everything off, put a whole new roof on, new wood, new everything. And that's kind of the deal that I negotiated. And then a couple other little things, like there was a couple, small things that just needed to be fixed around the house. And he did a lot of the work. He was actually a really, really nice guy. I think I got lucky. I think he wanted to offload it, so he was willing. He was a little bit more willing.
Someone who just went through a divorce, I understand.
Yeah, exactly.
A lot of you guys are out there, so
Yeah, I remember you telling me. Yeah.
That's all I'll go into right now. So you did the inspection. How'd the inspection report come back for you? Did it give any red flags? Anything you noticed? And tell us about I think you were laying down water lines. Can you get a little bit more about like what was needed in the houses?
Sure.
At those prices?
So I actually did that. That wasn't part of the inspection. There wasn't anything wrong. But in one house, the tenants paid the water, the electric, the gas, the heat. They basically paid everything. In the other house, the tenants only paid the electric. So the property owner was actually paying the heat, the water, the heat and the water. So in order to and those were pretty hefty expenses. I think it was about $3,000 a year, $3,600 a year for the heat. Some just under 3,000, maybe 2,600 for the water, something along those lines. So my property manager actually gave me that idea, where she was like, how's he making any money on this house without those expenses? And I told her, I was like, well, if we did the numbers, and with both houses together, it all worked out. She's like, yeah, but you could split that and make so much more. So I split the water line, and I split the heating. So what I did was I capped off the second floor, gave them baseboard heat, and then the first floor just kept the regular heat.
Oh, perfect. That's a low cost. How much did that cost?
So it was $5,000 each. It was $5,000 to split the heat, and that was upgrading the electric. Mm-hmm. That was capping it off. That was installing the baseboard.
And worth it.
Yeah. I mean, at $3,600 a year in heat, that's a 75% return almost. Crazy. And then the water.
Yeah.
Yeah. The water, the hardest part was dealing with the water company. They were just very difficult to work with. But right after everything got set up, now it's all done. Now the water's split. And those are some expenses I got to kind of offload on myself, you know?
Yeah, no, that's huge, and it's worth the money. So if you don't mind me asking, how did you come up with the money to pay for it? You to get some credit cards?
So I actually took an idea from someone who's pretty smart. Her name's Lisa, but she said in her mentoring program, she said, get interest-free credit cards. I said,
Yeah.
that's a good
Just a
idea.
bit of patience, just to get you through, right? It'll pay for
Yeah,
itself over the year.
exactly. So I actually got a credit card, and it worked out great. It was a $10,000 limit, and I used that to pay for that. And then I've been paying it down, as time goes on.
Yeah, so it'll be a year, maybe a year and a half before it's all
Yep.
paid off.
Yeah, I think in June is when the interest starts. So
Right.
and it'll be all paid off by then.
Perfect. Perfect. Buy the house, not by you. Um, so it's been about a year since you've had the house.
Yeah.
Tell me about the house, how it's held up, what you found about it. Because how you buy a house and an inspection will give you one thing. There's maybe one or two wear and tear things that come up over the year, but if you do your job right and fix things up front, there shouldn't be too many big ones. So tell me about how the maintenance of the house has gone over this time. Tell me about the cash flow, if you don't mind. If you don't mind getting into those details, because
Yeah,
we
that's
do
fine.
want to know, especially with the savings. Like I think it was so worth the 10K to make
Mm-hmm.
5,600. You know what I mean? To make it
Yeah.
back, but then also split the
Mm-hmm.
utility so you're not doing it. That's a big deal.
Yeah, definitely. Um, I would say it's been going pretty good. I mean, the land is the land. It's just there. It's basically used as a parking lot right now. We talked about some things to do with that. I'll look into that later.
Yeah.
Um, one of the houses is perfect. One of the houses, I think, one time I had something that needed to be fixed. The other house had a couple repairs, like I had the boiler. The boiler had to be replaced,
Mhm.
and then the rest was just minor things here and there, like maybe a stuffed toilet. I know that in one of the bathrooms there was a leak in one of the bathrooms that had to be fixed. But the majority, it's all been pretty good.
There's some horror stories out there, and I'm like, that doesn't have to be your story. The horror story doesn't have to necessarily be your story.
Yeah, exactly.
Like a year in, and I feel like, I know, I like real estate investing. It's sort of
Yeah,
easy. Let's go in.
yeah, exactly. I mean, it could have easily been a horror story, but I think to
Not with me.
that's true. That's true.
We've
Which,
learned. We've
yeah,
learned those lessons.
of course, yeah.
We
Which
don't pass that on. But yeah, I
that's
guess it could have if you were like by yourself and da da da
exactly.
da.
And that's actually where I've come to realize a lot of the horror stories do come from. It's from the guy who tried to flip a house on his own, and he just saved up a bunch of money and bought some random house, started fixing it up himself, and was like, okay, now let's sell it. Uh, well, you don't really know what you're doing, so that's why it didn't work out. I think if you can build your skills, you can kind of mediate those horror stories. Because if I didn't know,
Right.
like, how do I say it? Take that eviction I had, right? If I didn't know how to pick a good property manager or no property manager at
Yeah.
all, and I had to deal with that myself, it would have been a horror story. I would have had a
Right.
terrible time evicting
Easily.
that guy and
Easily.
flipping the house back. But I had the property manager, and like I said,
Right.
you showed me how to pick out a good one, so I did. And she is great. And because I was able to do that,
Yes.
the process went so smooth. And it was kind of like horror story averted. Same thing with the
Yes.
boiler.
I'm
That
glad
could
you
have been a
noticed
horror
that.
story
Like
too.
all of those,
Yeah,
so
exactly.
yeah, all those places that it could have been.
Yeah.
So let's talk about the numbers. Everybody wants to know the numbers.
Okay.
They do.
So I could tell you I paid 115 for everything. The mortgage and the property tax is the mortgage and the property tax is about 500 per house with the insurance for 50 a house.
Okay.
And in one house, I'm getting 775 for the 3 bedroom. In the other 3-bedroom on top, I'm actually getting 600. And it should be higher, but the only reason is there's a guy living in there. He's been living there like 15 years, and I don't know. I just
Let
don't
him
have the heart.
live.
Yeah, and he's such a great tenant.
Let
You
him
know,
live.
yeah, he's 79 years old. I'm like, all right, man, you're a great tenant. You've been there
Yeah.
forever. Just just stay there. You know, it's fine. And he's actually a really good guy. He like
Sometimes
fixes
the
stuff.
below market, yeah, the below market rent, especially in these neighborhoods, and sometimes it is sort of like thinking about affordable housing and not trying to kick people out who've
Mm-hmm.
been there for some time. And I do think about that. But the other part is like keeping a good tenant who pays on time and fixes the house up. And
Exactly.
like, are you crazy? You don't
Yeah.
know who you can get in here. You can get
Yeah.
some meth dealer, okay?
Yeah,
Like,
exactly.
this guy cleans the place up and fixes it up. Like, what are you doing? And the turnover costs. I found when my rent was market, there was just more in and out.
Yeah.
And the people who've been there for some times and it was like a little bit below, like I could raise the prices on all of mine. But man, that, you know, I don't care what's going to happen. I mean, that Social Security check comes in on
Yeah.
time. Do you know what I mean? So
Yeah.
it's just like, not only is it thinking about, do I want to kick this person out and have them uproot themselves because I need an extra $100 or $200? And because I'm already profitable, I'd be like, I do understand I have some stake in the affordable housing market that I can do my individual part. But then on top
Mm-hmm.
of that, there are economic reasons for not raising your rents and kicking good tenants out. Like they're like literally economic, let alone like the giving back to the community reasons. You know, like it's not always about every $100 you can squeeze out of somebody. And you know, goodness gracious, if we all thought that way and made things mutually beneficial, not super capitalistic. Like I'm a capitalist, don't get me wrong, but when do we stop, right?
Yeah, exactly. And that's kind of how I felt about it. I was like, you know what? You can think about it two ways. Same thing with that logical emotional stuff that we've been talking about this whole time, is you can look at it logically and you can, both arguments say to keep the tenant there.
Right.
Because if you look at it logically, you could say, okay, yeah, I could make that extra $100 a month or that $150 a month, you know, which comes out to what? Not that much throughout the course of the year, what, 1775, somewhere around there. So you could make that extra grand, $2,000 a year. But what are you going to lose if you kick that guy out and get a really horrible tenant? You know, you might lose $3-4 grand off that.
You can too. You can easily.
Yeah. And
seriously. And
on
it's
the
been
emotional
done.
side too.
Think about your good tenant.
Yeah, exactly. And when you look, like I was saying, when you look at the emotional side too, it's like, well, do I really have the heart to kick a 79-year-old man out of his home of 15 years? The answer is absolutely not, right?
Who's a good tenant?
Exactly. Who's a good tenant? Exactly.
Who's a
not
good
even
tenant?
like he's
If
like a
it's
jerk.
horrible,
Like
if
he's a
it's
good
bad
guy.
tenant.
Yep. My property manager loves him. Like they text, like it's crazy. But
Yeah.
you know, so to me, on the logical side, on the emotional side, it's like, yo, keep that guy there, you know? But just back to the numbers again. So there's, you know, 600 for that top one, 775 for that bottom one, and in the other house, I'm getting 850 for the bottom unit and 675 for the top unit.
Cool. I'm just doing the math right now. So you're at like after property management about 725 for the first one. Then you can put away whatever you want for future repairs and expenses. And then you're at because I have you about like 550 for like your mandatory costs.
Mm-hmm.
Then 975 and then minus 10%. I just took $100 off for the property manager. So 875. So yeah, 875.
That sounds about right.
725. Yo. That's about $1,600 a month. And then you can put aside whatever you want for future expenses or repair, maybe 200, 250. That can just go in the pot for all the houses. And if you got a new roof and the new boiler, so that should really take you quite some time before you have to do another major expense, but you can put away $200 a month if you want, and still,
To save,
that's
yeah.
some good money.
Yeah.
You put what, $17,000-$20,000 down to make $16,000 a year? That
Yeah, I put
is
down, yeah.
amazing.
Yeah, that was a really good deal. Yeah, and I mean it's good, obviously. Sometimes it ruins me for other deals. I'm like, this deal is not as good as that first deal.
I
But then
know.
I've been trying to get that out of my head, and I'm like, you know what? Let me still go for
Yeah.
it.
The more you look around, you'll be like, okay,
Yep.
let me take a little bit less, because but
Yeah.
you need like that one good house is like your stability, right?
Yep.
And then it helps out everything else. And every
Yeah.
single year you pay it off more and more. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? It gets paid off more and more every single year. So did you do two separate sales to have two separate mortgages, or did you just do one? Because I like the idea of doing two if you could, but it was just the one mortgage, right?
No, I did. So I did two actually. So
Good.
it was
Good.
one was I closed simultaneously. I closed at the same time, but it was two separate mortgages. I did one for one property, and then the other one was a mortgage for actually the land was part of it. So it was for the land and the house on the other one, because you can't mortgage land
And the
by itself.
and the
Or at least I don't think that's what they told me. You can't mortgage land by itself. So I had to kind of sort of put it together.
right.
So that's how it
And
is.
the thinking behind that was just you want to sort of always hedge your bets. Like, what if one like house you have to foreclose on, but the other one you're doing good at? Not
Yeah.
that you're gonna ever have to do that, but just like I like having things in different baskets, so
Yeah.
one does not impact the other.
Yeah.
Do you know
Same
what I
thing with the
mean?
insurance. Two separate
Mhm.
insurance policies. It's not like a blanket
Yeah.
insurance that covers both. It's
Right,
two completely
right.
separate policies. Yep.
Because what goes on here, you don't want to affect what goes on here, be it a
Yeah.
premium spike increase because something did happen. Like maybe a
Yeah.
fire happened. You don't want it to affect this one over here
Yeah. Sure.
because the premiums raise. Because,
Mm-hmm.
when you use your insurance, they like penalize you
Mm-hmm.
by raising your
Yeah.
rates. Okay, so money is good. I'm happy with the money. Are you happy with the money? Because that's
Very
some
happy.
good. All right.
Yeah. I like it.
Let's talk about you are working on another deal. Let's talk about that before we wrap it up.
Okay, so I'm actually working on two separate deals. One I'm going to see, one's in the works. One I'm going to see Sunday. So one is a little bit more straightforward. It's just another three family, three bedrooms. That one needs a little bit of work, but that one's pretty straightforward. That's just pretty much just a straight buy hold. Probably get a regular mortgage on it. The other deal that I'm working on is actually another three three bedroom, three family, right? Did I say that right? Three families, three bedrooms each.
Nice.
But that
These
one,
are big.
yeah, it's like they're like side by side. So they're
Okay.
actually like each unit is like 2 floors. It's almost like,
Oh, okay. So, okay.
yeah, it's like it's long. The house is long. So it's actually really cool. It's almost like three mini houses. It's kind of cool. But that one is like a complete rehab. So that one is I'm buying it for 20. I'm with right now the scope of work is about 60. Oh, can you still hear me?
I can. So yeah,
Okay.
20,000. I was about to good. Yeah, I was hoping you said complete rehab. I was like, I hope you're buying it for $1.
Well, no, I'll give you a little bit of the numbers on that one. So it's I'm gonna rehab it and hold it. I'm not gonna flip that one. That
Right.
is that one I'm buying for 20. It's about 65,000 of work, and it's appraised already for 127.
How are you going to get the 120? How are you going to get that money out? Are you going to try to tap into the equity
No,
to fix it?
so what I did was there's fix and flip loans.
Okay.
So I actually got a line of credit with a
Mhm.
company, and they give you you give the down payment, and they will pay for the rehab.
Okay. All right. And the other three family?
The other one I'm going to see actually,
That's in the work.
which was that? The other three family?
So yeah.
Yeah, that one I have to go see Sunday. That one is a little more straightforward. That one's just three bedrooms. I think two of the apartments are already good to go. I think they're actually rented already. And then one I think just needs a little bit of work, like flooring and stuff.
What's the price range on that?
That one is asking 79.
Oh, I love it. All right. So we have to end it right now. Listen, I do this every single time. Like my clients, I show them how to do it, and then they show it, and I'm like, dang, I need about $40,000 because that, oh my God, I'm trying not to cuss, but that's like, that MFer is a good mother effing deal. Are you kidding me?
Yeah.
You guys are killing me. You like show me these out of the park deals every single day, and I'm just like, I need money.
Yeah.
And if you don't buy it, I'm gonna go get it. I'm stealing it if you don't buy it. I am stealing it if you don't, which usually gets my clients to go, okay, let me go get it before she takes it.
Yeah.
So that is amazing. So would you say, you know what I mean? So all in all, because we have to wrap this up, you're an investor now.
Yeah.
How do you feel about this whole process? What would you say to all the other people out there?
Honestly, I would say if it's what you want, go for it. The hardest part is getting started. Once you get that first deal, once you get that first, once you take that first step, everything else just starts rolling. And it's like, you learn so much more. Like I said, we talked about, I read 52 books. I learned more from doing that one deal than all of those books combined. You'll never learn, you could study forever, right?
Right.
But in the end, you got to get out there. You got to take that first step. You know, whether it's a book, whether it's a mentor, whether it's just finding in yourself to do it, you got to take that first step. And for me, I never thought I would be at this point in my life where I'm like working on like my third and fourth house.
Isn't that cool? And they're
It's
cash flowing deals.
Yeah. Oh, of course. Yeah.
Scrappy. I bought a house, but I'm not happy with. Like, no, I can live off of this company.
Yeah. Houses I'm super excited about.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I just never thought I would reach this point. And it's like, it's all because I took that first step. If I would have still been just looking for deals, analyzing, doubting myself, I'd be in the same place I was, last year. But because I took that step, and not only am I at where I am, I can see a little bit more about what's the next step, where before it was just like, I need to get a cash flowing house, where now it's like, hey, let me build a portfolio, let me turn this into a real business. Yeah.
Right. Exactly. And respect. And that you want to show people, not like some people, it's like you're sort of embarrassed. You almost don't want to show them, like, oh.
Yeah, exactly.
You need to be happy about what you're doing. You should be excited. Yeah. This should be fun. You should be getting crazy deals. I tell my people that. You should be getting deals like that. I don't know if you joined any of my group coaching calls, but like this should be how it is every single time you go out, because this is what it is for my clients. And I'm just like, anything less is beneath you. It should always be this fun. It should always be a good deal like this.
Yeah.
And it should be this smooth. That's literally my feeling. That's what I want people to know. It can be this fun and amazing. If I had every client that I work with on this thing, I swear you guys would be like, are you kidding me? I'm like, no, I'm not. These MFing deals are MFing out of this world.
Yep.
Okay. Like,
yeah.
And I am jealous in a good way. All of my clients. I'm very happy, but man, I'm just like, I need more money. Yeah,
so that's the hardest part. You see these great deals and you're like, I would love to buy this, but I don't have the money for it right now, right? Maybe that's the next step.
You get tight. You know what I mean? And did you, there is the next step. And did you use some of the money from your rents from the first duplex and the first properties you bought to help as down payment for the next one?
No,
money that you collected from rents to pay for this one?
So I'm just saving up all those rents, and like I have a separate account for that, and I'm just saving that because
not touching it. Okay.
No, I don't want to touch it. Yeah. So I'm getting the money for the next one through like that fix and flip loan and my own personal money, things like that.
Yep. And that's what it has to do. Sometimes like I just got to save for about 6 to 8 months and then I'll be good to go, or maybe a year. It just depends on you.
Yeah.
But with that, we got to go, Phil. Thank you so much Everybody,
Yeah, thank you,
this is
Lisa.
Phil. Thank you for coming on. This was actually really fun, like going over the process because this was a very, it is exciting. It is
Yeah.
fun. Like these numbers are fun. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah, 100%.
I like hearing them for you. Like these are livable numbers. So with that, we'll let you go. Any last words that you have for anybody?
Um, Nothing really. Just don't be afraid to take that first step. That's
Oh,
all I got.
all right. All right, everybody. And we'll go with that. Thank you so much for tuning into the podcast. Bye.